Thank you for joining us. I'm Jacqueline Davies with Zions Direct, and I'm here today with Rob Jepson, Senior Vice President with Commercial Loan Sales at Zions Bank. Rob is a winner of the Stevie Award for Banking Sales Team of the Year by the American Business Awards and is a regular industry author and keynote speaker. This is the second of 7 videos about the Business Performance Series. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rob.
Thanks for having me back.
I know you had mentioned earlier about the 6 parts of the performance series. Give us a little bit more detail about the first part.
Day one, it's the building blocks of success, right? You got to have the foundation. I like to tell our class, our business owners, if you're building a house, you got to start digging holes and pouring concrete first. And it's hard work, and it doesn't show up, and it's not pretty, but you can't have a good house without it. Same thing when building your sales process. You can't start putting on the really cool, elegant parts of what you're doing unless you have a really strong foundation. What we found is there are 2 things that are the building blocks that you have to build this world-class sales organization on. One is you have to have a really clear understanding of role, and we have to have a really clearly defined process.
What is the most important thing when starting this process?
It's important to understand that there are 4 levers that will help your sales organization grow. We like to ask our class members if they can figure out which one will move it fastest. The first lever is the aptitudes of the people you hire. What are the natural gifts they have? Maybe you've heard some people are just wired for sales. The second one is how motivated are they? I define motivation by the person's willingness to do whatever it takes to win without cheating. Third, what skills do they have? Clearly, higher skilled people, can do better maybe than lower skilled people. And the last one is, what's your perception of your role? I usually will have people guess which one will move things fastest. Rarely does anybody get that it's role. And the reason that this is the case is your most precious resource, your most finite resource you have is the time of your people. And based on what your role is and your understanding of your role, that's how you'll define as something high value or low value. And sometimes it's almost enough for a company to be successful to have a clear understanding of what the high value activities are and do more of them and less of the low value activities. That's why we have to start there.
What are some people doing as far as finding what their role is? How can they define their own role?
Really good question. We like to do a couple of things. We like to have the salespeople or the regular, the people inside the organization say, this is what we think our role is, and by the way, this is what we think it should be. Then we like to go work with management and other leaders in the company and ask them, what do you think the salespeople's role is? And by the way, what do you think it should be? We look for gaps. The greater the variability and the greater the gap, the more likelihood there is that just by tightening up role, you can have success. It's almost that simple. Find out what people think it is versus what it is, and then start dialogue around that so you can really firm up what that role should be, and then you can match activities to role.
One other thing that you had mentioned earlier was motivation. How do you keep people motivated once they've established what their role is?
What we found is there are some false motivators. A lot of people think that I can get a motivational speaker. I can get them so fired up they'll go do whatever it takes to win. Other people think it's changes in compensation, that by compensating people, they'll fire themselves up and go and do whatever it takes to win. A third false motivator is contests. You can have people have a contest or a campaign, and that will give you a slight lift, but as soon as the campaign's over, that goes away. It doesn't keep motivation going. What we found is having clearly defined roles and activities that will match that role, that leads to success. And success will do 2 things. You'll have internal rewards, internal meaning I'm good at what I do, I like what I do, I'm finding fulfillment at what I do. And the other is external rewards. Sometimes it is compensation, sometimes it's commendations that you get where people say, wow, you're really good at what you do. That then drives ongoing motivation, and it fuels it that way. So we like to see motivation come best by having role that's tied to success, that's tied to rewards, that then fuels things around.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Rob. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm Jacqueline Davies, and today we've been talking with Rob Jepson, and we'll hope to see you again next time.